Welcome, everyone. This is Deep in the Plus. I'm your host, Rob Whiteside. Happy Wednesday night. We are here to talk about some Star Wars, and we've started to kind of gather this great panel of Star Wars folk that we've come to really enjoy diving deep into Star Wars together. Mr. Nicholas Cicero, how are you, sir?
Hello there.
Oh, see, I see what you did there. That was cute. And you probably stole that from this guy. He was about to say that. Yeah, he was. You can go ahead and say it too. Chris Reed.
General Kenobi. Good to be back here.
Boo.
I mean, I had to do something. You stole my line.
And it was so original,
that was
too.
also going to be my line.
And Desi, how are you?
Bright suns, good to see you.
So a couple of disclaimers before we start. First of all, thank you guys for joining us. Please make sure to like this video as it helps people to find us. Give us a thumbs up, and also subscribe to Unplanned Downtime as our subscribers are going up. We really are excited about everybody who is joining us for some great programming. Secondly, we're going to be talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi tonight, but just episodes 1 and 2. So if you're in the chat, please no spoilers for episode 3. We kind of thought, talked it over a little bit, but we want to focus on these first 2 episodes that dropped last Friday. And so we'll do that. And then lastly, this will be all discussion about episodes 1 and 2. So if you have not seen them, you might want to go ahead and give us that thumbs up because you're already here. Come back later and watch the show because we are going to get deep down into this. So I want to start by setting a barometer here and get everybody's feelings, because the old way to break out the Star Wars trilogies was the era of the Republic, the Rebellion, and the Resistance. Those movies were they've since rebroken it down with the High Republic and all that kind of stuff. But I just want to make sure I know on this panel, what are the three, what's your trilogy? And I want to start with you, Nick. What's your trilogy of the three? Is it I'm assuming it's Rebellion, but I don't want to put words in your mouth there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, it'd definitely be the Rebellion. Yes. That's what I grew up with. That's what got me into Star Wars.
Gotcha. And I assume the same for you, Reed.
Yeah, it's hard to say. Yeah, that or the newest 7, 8, and 9, because that kind of re-sparked my love for Star Wars in general after seeing 1, 2, and 3, which I was like, eh. So I'm 7, 8, 9 kind of reignited my love for everything. But I mean, obviously, 4, 5, and 6 Rebellion has the biggest soft spot, I guess, in my heart.
Yeah, and Desi, I'm not really sure about you. Where do your loyalties lie?
I love all Star Wars. I don't judge or pick. I love the prequels. I love the originals. I love the sequels up until the ending of 9. So I'll say I like all of them through 8.5.
Okay.
But I do have a special place in my heart for Ben Solo.
Yes, you do. We know this. All right, so here's the way it's broken down now. It starts with the High Republic, then what they call the Fall of the Jedi, which are the prequels, then the Reign of the Empire, which it's got Solo in there, Age of Rebellion, which is the traditional stories, but also Rebels and Rogue One. And then the New Republic with The Mandalorian, and then Rise of the First Order, which are the Resistance movies. What we're talking about with Obi-Wan Kenobi really kind of takes place at, right around this Reign of the Empire era. So, just so we know what we're talking about and when we're talking about it. It picks up really right after the events of Revenge of the Sith. And there is a 4-minute recap in front of this thing that I was not expecting to see. I don't know if, Reed, were you expecting to see a recap of this that then just floated right into the series?
No, but it was a nice surprise. So I saw that Disney Plus had that some sort of chart out where you could watch certain episodes of Clone, episode 1, and then watch some Clone Wars or something, and then episode 2, and then episode 3 the day before Obi-Wan came out. And we watched episode 3 the day before Obi-Wan came out. But it was really nice to see that little montage and kind of get re-familiar in a very quick way, like you said, 4 minutes with episode 1, 2, and 3. And I like how they really just came back, how they just kind of set it up, and then they they began with Order 66 still happening at that very peak of the show, start of the show.
Yeah, so that Order 66, it starts right there with Order 66, and when this was picking up, I was looking at this, and I was already excited about this series, but Nick, I got more excited when I saw exactly how close this was tied into the regular series. I mean, was that like a surprise for you too?
It was. I will say, look, I have a love for the prequels. I adore the prequels, but I will say that montage that they edited together made that trilogy look like an epic saga that was cinematically amazing. Like almost like the way the trailers fooled people back in the day. Then when they started in the Jedi Temple, that was definitely unexpected. I did not expect them to go back and do that. And I not only think that was a tone setter, but I think that's a foreshadowing of things to come, which we'll probably maybe dive into a little bit here on the show. They wouldn't have shown us that if they didn't expect us to need to see that to say, hey, this is going to lead to something down the road.
Yeah, I have some theories on that too, and I read a theory about it, and they're very differing, my theory and the one that I read, so I definitely want to talk about that. But when it opens up in the Jedi Temple, you see the younglings, and you know there's always going to be a problem when there are younglings. It's almost like krill. Like, is that what they're called? The thing that, like, the whales eat?
Yeah.
Like, it's like when you see them, you're like, uh-oh, there's going to be a problem. So we see them training, and then, Order 66 happens, and you can hear the Emperor ordering Order 66 in the background, and then they go into the temple, and then they do that big reveal where you see the entire temple. But it was really cool to see, to take us back to that moment, like to be able to take us back to that moment in time. And so, one of the things I heard was that the stormtroopers or the clone troopers were always shown in CGI, but in this case, we actually saw them in like practical uniform, almost for the first time, which was very cool to see. I don't know, Desi, do you feel the same way about younglings? Like when you see them, you know there's going to be trouble?
I was actually, the first thing that came to my mind when I saw that was, oh my gosh, we're going to see how Grogu was saved. I thought they were going to tie that in somehow, but I kind of felt like the CG quality, did they purposely make it look like it was the CG quality of back in the late 90s, early 2000s? Because I'm sorry, I didn't think the temple looked that great. Really?
Nick, you agree with that?
No, I didn't think that at all.
Well, you know what? In the framing of that, I did note that as the, and I don't know if it was a named Jedi, but as the Jedi Master was moving through the hallways and then into that room, for a second there, I thought this moment feels a little more like TV than a movie. I mean, because it is TV, but I feel like because of TV's ratio these days and because of the amount of money they're sinking into these, that everything usually looks very cinematic. But for that one moment, it did feel a little bit like kind of rough there. But never did I think, oh, this looks like CG animation throughout the thing. So
no, I didn't mean that like the animation. I just meant like the background. The background reminded me of how the background looked, I guess, in the prequels.
Well,
Gotcha.
then I guess George Lucas did a very good job back then because he made it look like it was from 2022.
Apparently.
Yeah, probably. All right, so we get into this scene and we have the younglings, and then the Jedi gets killed, and you hear Order 66, and then the one youngling says, "What do we do now?" and the other one says, "Run," and they run away, and then 10 years later, and we're on Tatooine, and again, it looked like I was so excited. I'm like, this is us put right back in. I didn't realize it was going to be this close knit to the original or the prequel trilogy. So I mean, I was excited about that part. Then the Inquisitors come in, and land in there. And like seeing the Inquisitors come to life was pretty cool. I just got back from Star Wars Celebration. Humble brag? No, straight up brag. Got back from Star Wars Celebration, and I watched the panel with Dave Filoni and Mandalorian, and then they brought out Ahsoka, and it's really neat. No, I'm going to keep bragging about that. I'm going to hit that over and over again. No, I paid that cash money. I got to put it out there. I got the shirt. It's great. Anyway, so when Filoni was up there on stage, which by the way, he and Favreau are just gods when they're there. And so, I think about Favreau and back in his the Swingers days and thinking, did he ever think that he was going to be this guy? Like he's walking through the park like he's like the freaking king. And he is. He's great. I love him. I love what they've brought to this franchise. But the cool thing about Filoni to me is that he came from animation, and we know the story about how he came into the Clone Wars and George brought him into the fold and how much of a fan he is of the Star Wars universe. But to be able to now bring all of his characters from his animated shows to life, that has got to be amazing for him. And we talked about that when we talked about Boba Fett and Cad Bane coming to life. And now here we see the Inquisitors. Nick, was that cool, or were you like, this isn't really what I thought live action Inquisitors would look like?
No, it was definitely cool. Every time I get to see these characters, like I obviously it's great for the creator, the people who created the characters, then were able to bring them to life for guys like Filoni. But I mean, for us fans that lived through that and were fans of that animation, this is real like vindication where these characters are now brought to live action, and I think in such a great way. You can nitpick the shape of the Inquisitor's head and stuff like that, but that's ridiculous. Just sit back and enjoy the live action interpretation of these characters. And I will say that I think they did a really interesting job with the Inquisitors. I mean, obviously, you have some different personalities going on there. You have some different temperaments going on there. Different use of powers. I mean, I could watch, like, I kind of want to show all about the Inquisitors now. I really do. I think the idea of who they are, how they came about, because when we found out that, because I didn't really pick this, I don't remember this from the Clone Wars, that some of the Inquisitors are fallen Jedi.
Right.
What?
Yeah, no, I had never heard that either.
Yeah, that was great. That was great.
One of the questions I had about this, Nick, and maybe you know the lore better than I do, is like, I think if you go back, and I'm sure Neko in chat will comment on this, but like, I think that third sister, I feel like there was a second sister in our modern or the Rebels version. So we've got a period of time here. So I assume that they cycle them in and out of those roles. But I don't know that I remember there being a third sister. So like Reva is probably, this is probably her introduction, right?
Yeah. There was no Reva to my knowledge in the Clone Wars. There's definitely not a prominent character. I don't know if she was in the background. I don't think so.
Desi, did you ever watch any of the cartoons? Or I'm sorry, the animated series. Not a cartoon. It's an animated series.
I have been told that this Inquisitor predates the Grand Inquisitor from the animated series, so that's why the shape of his head is different. Spoiler, I guess, since we're already talking about the first two episodes, we know that this one dies in the second episode. So it doesn't bother me that the shape of his head is different. And I already saw a real-life seventh sister when I was at the Star Wars Galactic Nights at Hollywood Studios a couple years ago. So I thought that was cool to see it, a new sister showing up.
Okay. Well, I think we still have... are you back, dude? Say something. Nope. No. I don't know. Are we going back to the phone, dude? I think. Is it Canadian Wi-Fi? Is that what's killing us up there? Okay. It's fine. So let's talk about something that you just said that then Nick responded to, which was... the Grand Inquisitor being dead. We're jumping way ahead into episode 2 here, but that's one of the questions I had was, is he dead? Because again, like, what Rupert Friend is the actor's name, and he actually showed up at
That's
Celebration.
Rupert Friend?
Yeah, he showed up at Celebration in the final, in the closing, and he came out to announce that, like, Star Wars Celebration, no worries, I'm not going next year. It's in England. But when he came out and talked, he was like, "Oh, it was great to bring the Grand Inquisitor to life for you guys." I think that he might still be alive, but that was in my notes to ask Nick. And again, we haven't seen part 3 yet. We don't know what happens, but we know that, like, in Boba Fett, they just throw everybody in a bacta tank and they're good to go again. So, you know what? Yeah, I mean, he could still be alive. Is that what you think, Nick?
I obviously I think he could still be alive. I think I feel like it's too early to kill off that character. But that said, you know, there's something deep about Reva. I know we're going to get into it, so I'm not going to get too far into theories about her. But there's something deep about her and some kind of connection to Vader. You could kill off that Inquisitor and probably then, I mean, a 6-episode series come full on with Vader. I don't know how soon Vader gets into this story, but I'd have to imagine because of the end of episode 2, he comes in pretty quick. So maybe it's good storytelling to get that Inquisitor out of the way so that Reva has her kind of free range. But I feel like depending on where the story goes, I feel like you need a character like that Inquisitor to try to keep Reva in check a little bit. But again, we're 2/3 of the way through this story, I guess. So I don't know. I just have a hard time believing he's dead. I think she just slowed him down. I would not be surprised at all if he's totally fine. It's a lightsaber through the gut. I mean, there's been worse.
That's true. If people can survive getting cut in half, then what's a little lightsaber to the gut? And he's bros probably with Vader, so plenty of bacta to go around.
Yeah. We can't hear you now. What's going on here? Can only 3 of us be heard at one time?
Can you hear me or no?
We really can't.
Yes, I can hear you.
Rob.
I can't hear Rob.
Yeah, we can't hear Rob.
Can you?
Wow. Just wow. All right, Reed.
What? Okay, you can hear me or what?
Yes, we got you.
Okay. I missed the question.
All right, so let's talk about, like, we were given the opportunity to talk about the animated stuff if you've watched it, and then we were talking about whether you think that the Grand Inquisitor is actually dead or if he'll come back in this series.
Yeah, so I was pretty selective on the episodes of Clone Wars that I've watched. I haven't watched it all the way through, but if I saw a description, there was like a story arc that I was interested in, I'd watch it. I really do think it's cool, though, to see some of these characters come from animated to live action, and I really do hope they keep doing it. It's just, it opens that door for just different opportunities to see them in a different way. I'm more drawn to the live action series anyhow, so to see them in that kind of way is awesome. And the second part of your question about the Grand Inquisitor, I don't think he's dead. I don't think so. No.
Yeah. Well, again, I mean, you got a big actor, you got a big character. You know, it's very possible that he's still alive. I think that was one of my questions as we were watching it is if he was still alive or not. While we're just talking about theories, and before we even get more into it, let's go back to what we were talking about before, Nick. Like, so the younglings, we see the younglings, and then when we see this Jedi that the Inquisitors are chasing down, I thought to myself immediately, is he one of the younglings? Is that where he came from? But there's another theory out there about the younglings too. What were you going to say about it, Nick?
Well, I don't know if I'm going to spoil that theory, but yeah, I mean, number one, I think, I don't know if he was necessarily one of them. I feel like we're led to kind of believe he probably was. Like, I don't think we need a definitive answer on that. But I think seeing the Jedi Temple and the younglings at the very beginning and seeing a group of them escape I'm going to go along the lines that he was one of the ones that escaped, because we know some slipped through the cracks. I mean, I think the bigger theory is who is Reva, and knowing that Inquisitors can be fallen Jedi, I mean, come on, Reva has to be one of them. The interesting thing is because of what she knows about Vader. Number one, how does she know he's Anakin? Number two, does she know that because of research that she did? Like, did she look in the archives? Because she said something about, like, looking in the archives. She did some research. So did she find the tapes that Obi-Wan watched? That's possible. It's also a little bit possible that she was helped by Anakin, because Anakin maybe saw some, maybe felt something from some of the Padawans who were running away, and instead of leading them all to their death, maybe he saved one or two.
He is a very good youngling killer. We've seen that, happen before, so he is very good at that. But yeah, that's the other theory I heard, was that Reva might have been one of the younglings from the temple in the beginning. Because why else that scene, right? Like, I mean, I guess it's to put us into that whole Order 66. But we've gotten the intro, and then there was the whole 10 years later, and this one scene was very purposely put into there for us to pick apart and see what was happening. So I guess to be determined. So I'm excited to see where that goes. So after that, the Inquisitors land, and they're in Tattooine, and they're going in, and they're messing with the guy in the saloon. They call it a saloon, not a cantina. I guess that's because it's open air. I don't know what the difference is. But then they find and track down this Jedi, and then run away, or he runs away. And so then it's like 12 and a half minutes, like I looked at it, until we actually get to see the reveal of Ben Kenobi. I mean, that's kind of cool. I mean, he's like the titular character of this, and we've got all this other setup. It wasn't like in The Mandalorian, we see him pretty quickly. In this series, it took a while before we get to our main character, and obviously, huge reveal. So once we see him, they're mining meat out of a creature, and again, I'm sure we'll get added in the chat. But does anybody on here know what that creature is?
I had assumed it was a portion of a crate dragon, but that was just a guess.
Do you know, Nick? You've got a grin, like maybe you like.
No, I thought
the other thought was one of those hyperspace whales crash landed.
Yeah,
it looked more like a space whale. Yeah,
did look like whale meat. Yeah, but it was a very efficient assembly line they had set up there, and they're like I said, it's like they're mining this meat off of this thing, and so then he chops a little bit of it off and puts it in his pocket. Reed, do Jedi steal?
I mean, if you're hungry, right? Yeah.
He didn't eat it, though. He was feeding it to. He didn't eat it. He was
like Aladdin. It's okay to steal if you're a protagonist.
Well, you gotta keep one jump.
I don't know the rules of the desert out there in Tatooine, but I mean, this was a fallen creature. It's open game to anybody until it gets packed up and put in a shop somewhere. Then it would be stealing. But going up and grabbing it from the animal itself, not stealing.
He didn't look like he was really hiding it that much. It kind of looked like there were other people around as he was folding it up. So I think that he thought of it as part of his wages, that he could just cut off this little bit. It didn't seem like he was, trying to be sneaky about it.
Yeah.
I feel like
maybe everyone was doing it, and that's why they docked the pay in half.
Oh, maybe.
So Neko has said it's a Nibre, which in a quick Google search shows this.
No, those are small, aren't they?
I don't know. It did look very, very huge. But to me, it looked like a manta ray on its side shoved in the ground, because it looked like there was a trench as to where it had come across. But again, the genius of of the world that they put together, this makeshift thing where like they went to where the meat was and set up these huge assembly lines to get it out, and then like the gonk droid at the end to put in your card and get your money. Even in the future, they're still using Fred Flintstone time cards. I mean, it's fantastic. Yeah.
So even if it is that creature, by the way, I mean that's probably a Filoni creation because that came out of the animated series.
It's not the future. It's
I'm sorry. It's a
long
galaxy
time
far,
ago.
far away. It's a galaxy far, far away, and a long time ago. Yes, and that's an interesting thing too. Like in the canon 9 movies, they all open the same way with that, the Star Wars logo, and the crawl. This one opened with that a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, but no logo, no crawl. I thought that was kind of interesting too. So it's almost like this is sort of cinematic, but it's also at a different place in the whole thing. And while like we've got this whole like MCU of Star Wars going on with the Mandalorian and Ahsoka and some of those shows, this one is sort of standalone and smack dab canon in the middle of of Ben's journey. So is it okay if I call him Ben? Do I have to call him Obi-Wan every time? Can I call him Ben? I still think back to the to A New Hope where they're like Obi-Wan Kenobi. I mean, there's Ben Kenobi, but Obi-Wan Kenobi, like that, I see no comparison. Like it just didn't seem to make any sense at all.
I feel like there's got to be some, like he only calls himself Ben, and he doesn't tell anybody his last name. But there was probably some instance in which Luke overheard Uncle Owen saying, Kenobi, stay away from Luke, So that's probably just my assumption of how he knows that he's associated with the name Kenobi.
Could be.
Because Reva says fairly out loud that she's looking for Kenobi on Tattooine, and nobody seems to know who Kenobi is. So I would guess that most people just call him Ben, and they don't call him Ben Kenobi. Like when he introduces himself to Leia, he just calls himself Ben. He doesn't call himself Ben Kenobi.
Yes, got it. Let's move on to he goes back to his rock. I don't even want to call it a house, but he goes back to his rock, and when he gets back to his rock, he's got a pretty cool like early warning system outside that looks like it was like broken off of, or it almost looks like he buried R2-D2, because the thing comes up just like in like the Dagobah swamp, and like says, "Oh, nope, you're good to go. You can go inside. There's nobody inside." It's basically his ring light of his era, and then so when he goes in to his place and he's chilling out, a Jawa comes in. Have we ever had a named Jawa?
No, I think this is the first one.
Yeah, you're shaking your head too. Like Tika, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was Tika. I don't remember any of the other Jawas. I'm in the 501st like costuming group, and there's a few Jawas, and they're just Jawas. They don't have like any names. So.
Yeah, he was cool. I liked him, but I love the part where, like, he totally gets this relationship where he's like, "Hey, Tika, if you're gonna like, steal my stuff, just could you at least clean it before you make me buy it back from you?" I don't know. I thought that was a very neat thing, and then subtitles with the Jawa kind of threw me off too. Like, no, it's just Houtini and we're done. Like I don't expect them to be actually having a conversation there. And so what he actually was buying from Tika was, and as soon as I saw it, I was like, I'm not really sure what this is. I don't think I knew until he dropped it off at Luke's house, which was that's the Skyhopper toy, right?
It's the toy that Luke plays with when he is visiting Ben at the beginning of A New Hope. So I'm guessing he did clean it, even though the Jawa didn't clean it.
Gets it back.
Well, and I was going to say though, and Nick, maybe this is too much. Is sometimes when I was watching this, I stopped and thought, okay, oh no, Obi-Wan's in danger, but is he really? Because we know he lives. And the same thing with that toy, like Owen brings it back and throws it at Ben and is like, "Oh, get away from my boy." And then, he's like, he doesn't need your stuff. But obviously at some point he winds up with it. Did you find yourself like trying to justify that, or is that just me?
No, I mean that's an inherent problem with any prequel, right? Because we we kind of already know who probably lives and who dies, or what happens to certain things. No, I thought that was just a cool little Easter egg. They weren't. I don't think they were over the top blatant about it. It was a neat little thing. I think it helps tell the story of how Obi-Wan feels, how and how everybody feels about it, how Owen feels, how everybody feels about the each other in the situation with Luke. I think it was a great device that helped show that Obi-Wan is trying to care for Luke's about 10 now, so he's starting to see, like, okay, he's about that age where I should start looking for things. He obviously is into flying. I'm gonna give him this and see if I could foster that or build that in him. And then Owen's like, I don't like you, and this is why. And that toy brought them together. It was a great device, because how else would they have necessarily got them together? That toy helped force them together in a confrontation, which showed everybody's place in this timeline right now. It was fantastic.
Did you say force them together?
I did.
So one of the things that happens in there is he goes, no, you just want to see if he's showing yet. And I was like,
yeah,
that was interesting.
The first
and
time
also,
heard that, right?
Right.
And yet Yoda
creepy.
thought that Anakin was too old, and he was about 10, right? Too old to start training?
Yeah. Well, and right. I mean, compared to Luke when he started, right? When he actually started. So I think that whole exchange was pretty cool. And then they go to Alderaan. R.I.P. Alderaan. I mean, this is the first time we've really gotten in there. That was kind of weird to see, oh, hey, look, everybody's happy and peppy and we get to meet Leia, but poor Alderaan.
Yeah, it kind of made what becomes a bit later harder to watch, I guess. But yeah, it was nice to see what it looked like, the people in it, and yeah, I was really impressed with the episode, just how it presented and how everything looks. I thought it looked great. It was very nice to see. I like that we're getting these chances to see things that we never thought we would see before, right? Or that we haven't seen before and we might never have seen.
Yeah. So one of the other things that I actually, hold on a second, wanted to draw attention to was this toy, which actually debuted at Celebration. It's not out yet, but there is Lola, who is Leia's little robot, and man, did they not skip a beat in getting this marketing thing off the ground.
Right.
They went on
It took us 2 years to get Baby Yoda, but in 30 minutes we got Lola.
Yeah, I mean, they showed it the day after the premiere. They showed it at the Hasbro booth at Celebration, but already today was the day that they went on pre-order for these things. Did you get one, Nick?
Yeah.
Well, did you go for the $89.99 animatronic one?
Yes, of course I did. Are you ridiculous? Of course I did.
Yeah, I'm a little bit ate up that it's not going to be out until December 1st, but I pre-ordered that from the Hasbro website and also the Jon Favreau action figure from the website. I had to have that one too.
That was good.
Yeah. So we meet Leia and Desi, do we like Leia at this age?
I love Leia at this age. She kind of if you've ever seen Game of Thrones, she kind of reminds me of the little bear. I can't remember what her name was in Game of Thrones, but I love how sassy she is at this age, and you can totally see her growing up into Carrie Fisher's Leia. So I loved it. I thought she was adorable.
I found her to be partly. I mean, I kind of liked her, but at the same time, I found her to be partly problematic. What were you gonna say, Nick?
Oh, perfection. This is the reason the show works and will be successful, because they decided to take it in the direction that maybe we thought maybe we'll see Leia, because we know we saw a little Luke in the trailer. All right, maybe, but this was such a twisting of expectations, but in a very good way. It's a piece of Star Wars history we have been talking about for a little while, because we started to see some of these things come in motion. So will we see a younger Leia? Will we see any kind of prequel thing with Leia pre-Star Wars? And this is the perfect way to give it to us. And I think they looked at the way Mandalorian worked. All right, let's put our title character with a cute baby character. And they were like, okay, let's make this like a buddy film with Obi-Wan and a kid Leia. And they cast the perfect young actress to play Leia, gave her the perfect lines. They got to be careful with it, right? They got to make sure they don't go over the top with her. But where she is right now, you can draw that line to 8 to 10 years later. That's the Princess Leia we saw in Star Wars.
And it helps it make sense why she would call her son Ben. Even though you would think, oh, she didn't really spend that much time, and she called him Obi-Wan in the hologram. She didn't spend that much time with him, or really any time with him, in A New Hope. So it makes it make a lot more sense.
Yeah, I mean, even like the way the hair is set up and the way she carries herself is definitely, I mean, it's definitely a cool glimpse of what Leia would be. The only problem that I have with Leia, perfectly cast, agree with you 100%. And also the sassy was perfect and spot on, and she carries herself and she does the right things. The problem is that she runs away and causes the problems for Obi-Wan that as a parent frustrates me. It's like, why couldn't you just stay there? 24, the original 24, Jack Bauer and his daughter Kim. Jack Bauer would have been absolutely fine if it wasn't for Kim. And then she's like, oh, I don't want to be here. And she goes somewhere, and now Jack's going to die. And then he's like, he gets saved, but then Kim screwed up again. I mean, so it was like that kind of thing where it's like, if she hadn't been running out there, then she wouldn't have gotten caught. And obviously that's the plot. But that's my parental frustration of it. But all of the other points, I was like, I hope, and we haven't really seen enough of Luke to know, I hope Luke is as well cast and and carries himself the same way that Leia does in this one. I saw a comment. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I don't think we're going to see that much, if anything, of Luke, because
Agreed.
When we see Luke in A New Hope, it seems like he just has a minimal understanding of old Ben Kenobi. It doesn't sound like he's got like a super great relationship with him. He just knows who he is, but doesn't know him that well. And, that's why I think it's more surprising for him when he finds out about the Force when he goes to visit old Ben. And, because if they had a great relationship prior, then why wouldn't Ben have told him about the Force, and why wouldn't he have given him his father's lightsaber previously?
Is that what you were going to say, Nick?
Yeah, I never thought that Ben and Luke would have real interaction in this. I mean, I think in some of the comics, maybe books, they had some kind of connection a little bit. I think in one of the comics, Luke was getting into trouble or something, and Obi-Wan chased them away, but they never really met. But I was thinking going in, we would get to see some of the close-ups of the lifestyle on the Lars homestead. We would see the Luke being a kid. I don't think we're going to get any closer. I think purposefully they're going to keep us at the kind of binocular distance and just spying in on Luke here and there. And I think that's the way to go. And I think the way to go, which I didn't really realize going into this, was to give us an adventure with Leia, and then that will lead Obi-Wan to where we have him at the end of the second episode, where now he knows Anakin's out there, and now it's gonna the next few episodes should lead us into Reva and Vader and Obi-Wan and all that stuff.
Yeah, but I guess they could do some stuff where he's not with Ben. Maybe it's just Uncle Owen talking to him, and maybe it's better to keep it a mystery. Or maybe this is another spin-off series where it's like at home with Baru, Owen, and Luke. I don't know what they could do with that one.
Yeah, I think you do a sitcom where it's the Lars Homestead and you have Luke and you have everybody and just spin it off into a totally different genre, and it's like a sitcom. That'd be great.
Yeah. So go ahead, Chris.
I was just going to say about Leia. She kind of reminds me. I guess this is kind of like what Nick said, but it's like the Mandalorian had Grogu, and she's kind of like a sassy version of Grogu in a way. And her appearance and her involvement in the story was something I wasn't anticipating either. So I was really excited for that. When she was running away, that scene was a little bit crazy. How those guys couldn't just catch her, but I mean, whatever. I'm sure that's going to go somewhere, and I'm excited to see where it goes. And I really like her involvement in it. Yeah.
Look, Flea plays bass. He doesn't chase kids. He's not good at it. I just
wanted him to call her chicken.
From Back to the Future. When he shows up, though, I was yelling like at my son. I was like, it's Flea, and he thought that was the character's name that I was talking about. I think so, and not like that was Flea. I yelled out, "Oh, that's Needles!" Wow. It was good to see him for as long as he lasted. I don't think he's making it. I think he's done. I don't think he's getting thrown in the back to tank. He was good while he lasted. One of the characters though that did pleasantly surprise me was seeing Bail Organa and
yes!
played by Jimmy Smits.
I was not surprised. You were surprised that he was going to make an appearance.
I did. It didn't click in my head until we were there with Leia and I see her mom and I was like, wait, there's her mom. Where's her dad? And I was like, it's Jimmy Smits. That was so good. Clearly, you were excited about that too, Nick.
Oh my goodness, Bail is one of my favorite Star Wars characters, and he's so kind of. I don't know, it's a very limited character. He has very little screen time, very little dialogue, but I think he comes across so well in the prequels. And then when he was brought into Rogue One, that scene was so powerful with Bail in Rogue One, and where he was, he was like, there's no one I trust more with this, and he was talking about his daughter, and then that was huge. That was an amazing Rogue One scene. Then we go to this, and his interaction with Leia, and how the mom is, kind of like, you have to be a princess, you have to grow up into this, and where Bail kind of knows the grander story. It'd be very interesting to know how much his wife knows. I mean, I'd like to know what she really knows about the entire situation, but he knows that there's this probably a greater story for her than what's really here on Alderaan, and he is preparing her for that and letting her grow and not trying to keep her in this box that he knows, because he knows she's not of this world. She's of a different world. She's of a different lineage. She has a different destiny, and he's allowing that, and the way he interacts with her is just absolutely beautiful. And I will say that this is very much in the Lucas vein about family. There was a big family vibe to it, and even though you've been adopted into this family, you're still family, and that means something. And we're going to help you grow. We're going to help you reach your potential. And then it was beautiful.
Here's the only time I didn't like him. When this scene came up and we saw the hooded figure, I was like, please let this be somebody else's cool, right? And then he turns around and it's Bail, and I was like, come on, I wish it could have been anybody else. I don't know, somebody else that we hadn't seen yet, and maybe I was getting greedy. Like, hey, you showed me Luke, you showed me Leia, you've shown me, like, Jimmy Smits as Bail Organa. Like, I've gotten to see Ben Kenobi. I'm back in it, and then now it's like, oh, it wasn't somebody new. Nobody else. It was just me. Great.
I was happy to see him.
Out.
So that's basically where he finally says, "Hey, look, you know what? I need you to go get Leia." I found this a little frustrating, and again, I love Star Wars. I love this. This was great, but I'm just nitpicking. He's like, he's guilting Ben into going to help Leia, and the way that I look at it is, it was Bail's job to take care of Leia, and it was Ben's job to take care of Luke. Ben's doing his job, and he's like, yeah, there's not just the boy. You got to protect the sister too, and blah blah blah. And I'm just like, that was your job, dude. Reed, tell me that I'm right on this one, so that you agree with me, or you disagree totally.
No, that's good. No, don't cut. It's cutting.
What?
You're good.
You're good.
Are you
You're
there?
good. You're good. You're good.
Okay. I'm frozen on my side, so you all moving, but I'm not.
We see you perfectly, my friend. You are perfectly. Pretend like you're not having issues.
Question?
The question was, why are things so bad in Canada? Why? Why are the microphones broken?
In fairness, I'm using Wi-Fi now. I was connected via Ethernet before, but I don't know. So it's choppy. It's been choppy, but I'm trying to make it through it here.
I guess what I was saying was that it felt like Ben should have been taking care of Luke, but then Bail comes in and says, you can't just play favorites with Luke. You need to take care of the girl too. Whereas I feel like it was Bail's job to take care of Leia the entire time, and he screwed it up.
But then, would you say that it's Owen's job to take care of Luke if you're saying like the parental figure needs to be the one taking care instead of the Jedi?
No, I would not say that.
No, I mean, look, if you knew, if you knew your kid was from where the kid's from, and possibly has these potential powers, and you knew you had a friend with these Jedi powers, and you had a problem, you're going to call on them, and you're going to put some pressure on them to help you with the problem, especially if they're the ones that they're tangentially related. I'm all cool with Bail bringing in Obi-Wan. Now, I will say that I'd love to talk about this, and I'd love everybody's opinion on this.
Go for it.
Because remember, when Bail did ask Ben and was trying to bring him into the fold, Ben had a bunch of chances to come into the fold, and also said that he, basically along the lines of what Luke said in Rise of Skywalker, that the Jedi's time is over. The Jedi should end. Did everybody else kind of feel a parallel to Luke's mindset in the sequel trilogy? That because of the failings of the Jedi, that this was a conclusion that Jedi are kind of brought to, and Ben was brought to it. Ben trained Luke, and eventually Luke was brought to that kind of conclusion as well.
I mean, real quick for me, and then I'll go to you, Desi. But I would say for me, the thing is that when I'm going to go to you, Desi, because now I'm all thrown off.
My whole argument, what people say that they hate about the sequel trilogy is that, Luke was so great at the end of Return of the Jedi. How could you do this to him? Where at the beginning of The Last Jedi, he's so downtrodden. well, if you're watching in sequence, like 1, 2, 3, 4, you see Obi-Wan is super powerful with the Force and is able to defeat Vader at the end of episode 3. And then you get to episode 4, and he's this old, feeble man living in a hut and kind of goes down easily without really putting up much of a fight. And then you could say, oh, well, why, how could you do that to Obi-Wan? So this, I feel like, gives even more strength to that argument of you can't take Luke from The Last Jedi and be angry about that and then not see that it's got the parallels to Obi-Wan and what his journey was like between prequel and
love
the
it
original
because
trilogy.
I feel like I love it because I feel like what happened to Obi-Wan here in the Obi-Wan series almost validates a little bit further, props up where we found Luke in The Last Jedi, right? Because it's like this is the mindset of these Jedi as they age and as they learn more about the world and the failings of the Jedi and all that stuff.
Here's where I was going with this before, and where I find there's a difference between the two is that Ben was given a job, and his job was, you need to take care of this kid. That's your job. Don't deviate from that. That's your job. You have to do that. Whereas Luke was like, he'd given up. He was just like, I can't really do this anymore because, I screwed up in my school. I created Kylo Ren basically, and, I don't have it in me anymore. And that's where I feel like there's a difference, is that this was the assignment given to him by a Jedi master, was to watch this kid live here, be on the lookout, and this is what you do. Whereas, I mean, I get what you're saying, but like, that's how I took it, is that he was trying not to do that.
He did, though. He didn't fail in protecting the kid. He was whether or not he needed to be a Jedi in order to protect the kid is kind of a different matter. I mean, Ahsoka went down this route where she still had all the powers and the skills that you would attribute to a Jedi, but she said, "I'm no Jedi," right? I'm not a Jedi. So she kind of learned that at a much earlier age than somebody like Obi-Wan or Luke, who it took some years to learn that I could still be strong, I could still be powerful, I could do my job, but I don't have to be a Jedi. And I think that's where Obi-Wan is at this point in time. You're muted.
He goes, I blame Reed for 100% of this because of his thing. So apologies, but anyway, he goes out into the middle of the desert and he digs up his lightsaber, which is exactly what he told the young Jedi to do, was to go, bury his saber in the desert. And when he opens the box, we see both of them. We see Anakin's and his lightsabers in this box, which is very cool because obviously he still has to be holding on to it to be able to give it to Luke whenever that day comes. So that's kind of cool that happens. But I assume it's because...
Well, I love that. I don't know if you're going to say that. Sorry, I thought you were moving on. I don't know if you're going to say this, but that also... I love how few of the things in the Obi-Wan series have tied together different pieces of the the three trilogies. Because Rey buries her lightsabers, right, at the end of Rise of Skywalker. So
which I hate.
It's like showing us, hey, this is a thing now, because Obi-Wan buried lightsabers. He told the other kid to bury his lightsabers. Rey buried her lightsabers. It's like a thing now. I like that.
She didn't bury her lightsabers. She buried Anakin and Leia's lightsabers.
Yes.
Anakin's not Luke's, FYI.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that bothers me, that Anakin's lightsaber winds up in sand.
Yeah, if you ever wondered if Canadian people get frustrated, apparently they do, because I can see it all over Reed's face right here. Yeah. So one other thing that happens at the end of this episode is that at the very end he's made his decision. He's going to go help. He puts on the lightsaber. He goes to get on the transport, and she's like, "Are you coming?" And then he steps up to the transport and he flips back his robe so that we see that he's carrying. He's got his lightsaber on his hip. He's ready to go. And I felt like I heard a little bit of a traditional Star Wars music sting right there, Nick. I don't know if I'm just making that up. Like when he flipped that back, like a no.
I didn't pick up on it, but yeah, I'm not good at picking up the music cues on the first listen or two. So
but that moment was so cool when he when he's like, I'm back, baby, I'm going, and this is how this particular episode ends. So Reed, you're back and you're smiling about that. Do you agree about that moment?
Yeah, that was cool. That was cool. That's it's almost like what you've been waiting for a little while there. But the build up was worth it, and I was so excited watching this episode, and then I love that they packaged it with, hey, here's episode 2 right away.
Yeah. Let me ask you that. Why not just make episode 1 super long? I mean, I guess because they want to give us
like
6
an hour
episodes.
Hour 20 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
know. So then we go into
Stranger Things doesn't seem to care about episode lengths this season, so it's all out the window now.
Yeah.
So you might as well.
So again, that's how the first episode ends. I do want to, I know we're running later than normal, but I do want to highlight some stuff from episode 2. But before we do, again, just a reminder, please give us a thumbs up so people can find us, and so we can set up our GoFundMe for better equipment for Reed. And then also, there was a lot going on in this, so trivia seemed like a bad idea. So here are 4 trivia questions from episode 1. If you guys are ready. They should be pretty easy. You guys ready?
Yep.
When it opened with the Jedi training class, how many younglings were there?
6.
9.
8.
5. Seemed like more, I know, but because they were scurrying. That's why it threw you off. So the master from that class that taught that class, she had to go all Jedi on to protect the kids. What color was her lightsaber?
Green.
Yeah, green. I was gonna say green too.
I feel like it was white, but that's probably not right.
No, it was green.
Okay.
So there's that warning droid I was talking about. It looked like R2-D2 sunk in the sand, and it popped up when he would come home. And when Bail was in his cave, it turned red. But the rest of the time, what color did it turn when it popped up?
Blue.
Blue.
Sure, blue.
Yeah, it was blue. Here's why I thought that would trip you guys up, because I thought green. Green means go, red means don't go, right? So I thought that would be the case, but it wasn't. And there was another cameo that we got to see, and it was, Bail was sent home with the droids. He was sent home with C-3PO and R2-D2. So we get to see C-3PO, but there's another droid that comes up and serves Leia, and then her cousin speaks, ill of the droid. What was that droid's name?
No clue. Not Lola.
Like, what kind of unit was it, or did it actually have a name?
Well, it was a protocol droid.
It was a protocol droid, but it had a name.
I mean, it looked like the one that was on the in the prequel in episode 1. It looked like that same droid.
Yeah. Neko already put it in chat. It's YO. Anyway, that was it. I just a couple things, because I know you guys would be disappointed if I didn't come with some kind of trivia, right? I mean, isn't that basically it?
I mean, no. Was that a droid from a previous movie?
Not to my knowledge. I just think it was just a generic protocol droid.
Just one more thing about episode 1 before we move on to episode 2. The the Jedi that gets caught and hung, when Reva points him out and goes to kill him immediately, I kind of wondered if maybe they were both part of that original youngling class, and she pseudo recognized him as a grown-up version of one of her friends, and then that would make me very sad.
I don't think so, because when they were trying to flush out the Jedi, she had no idea, or they didn't seem to know who the Jedi was until she threw the knife at the bartender, and then the guy stops it. And so I feel like she would have been able to maybe pick him out in the crowd beforehand without doing that, because once she throws the knife, she's like, there he is, he's over there, he's the dude with his hand up like this. So yeah, I mean, it did seem weird the way they strung him up too. Like, you know, I guess it was a warning to everyone else at that point that says, you know, no Jedi. But he should have listened to Ben and gone ahead and buried that saber. So in the second episode, or part 2, he comes to a very seedy town, and where he's been told that Leia is. And so there's you know, it looks like every Star Wars seedy town, like, you know, in Coruscant,
I really wanted somebody to ask him if he wanted to buy some death sticks.
Well, kind of. Somebody did offer him drugs.
Yes,
right?
yes,
Spice. Yeah.
yes, some spice.
Yeah.
But the cool thing,
His own daughter.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's his own daughter that did that, right? And she said something like, "I have a father," or something, or
I was somebody's
what
daughter
was it?
too.
I was somebody. Yeah, I was.
That's
Yeah.
what it was. Yeah, yeah. But that was cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that.
Oh, that's his daughter in real life?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh.
But to me, that wasn't the coolest cameo in this little scene.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
come on. This man
My
has a
husband didn't think that it was really Tamara Morrison when we first saw him. Like, that is definitely him.
job for life, man. He has got a job for life.
So good. And
yeah,
he
I
loves
mean,
every second of it.
yeah, he came out and did the traditional Maori dance. I don't know the name of it, but on during the celebration, he came out and he just, oh man,
Keep
he just
on bragging.
he ran out to the very middle of the stage, and just like the crowd was nuts from the second that happened.
That's
Although I think
awesome.
he was so out of breath he couldn't really continue answering questions, so they just kind of went around him the rest of it. But yeah, he is so cool and such a big part of this universe because of being Jango and then all of Jango's clones. So that was kind of neat. But yeah, so Ben is on this planet. He's trying to track down Leia. He's trying to get some you know, any clue that he can, and then he hears there's a Jedi on the planet. And at first, again, I'm thinking, oh, is it a Jedi we know? Is it somebody we know? This is going to be really cool. And although it's Kamal Nanjiani, which we know him as an actor, I was really hoping it would be somebody else. Nick, you're nodding your head too. Did you have thoughts?
No, I'm not mad because I loved it. I first of all, I loved the reveal, and at first I was like, oh darn, he's a Jedi. That's so cool. Now it's like, wait a second, this doesn't feel right. This feels very jokey. And I love the comedic aspect of that. That to me is very much treading the line of being a little too, like, kind of fan movie-ish, like jokey, but it works. Like, everything these people are doing these days on these Disney Plus shows for Star Wars is just working. And I feel that this could have been a joke or too cheesy, like too easily, but I feel because of the actor he pulls it off, because of the dialogue, the way they shot it, like, they pulled it off so well. So I love the fact that they're showing in universe that in this timeline the Jedi are still kind of known about, but they're still mysterious enough where people can kind of pretend to be Jedi and do tricks and get away with it. It's so cool. It's mind blowing. It's one of my favorite parts of the 2 episodes.
Now, we're Star Wars fans, but I don't know that we're complete Star Wars geeks. When you guys were looking around this town, were you trying to figure out any of these signs and what they said in Arabic? Because there's so many signs. There's got to be some kind of hidden stuff going on. Did you really? Because, like, I mean, just little things like this where it's just sitting off to the side, and I'm like, what does that say? What they must have hidden stuff in there.
It's just things like market, or it's really, at least I didn't find anything that exciting.
Yeah. Reed, you didn't look them up?
No, I did not look them up, but I didn't even think to. But now I almost want to pause it and actually like dive into that, because there's got to be something.
Yeah, but I mean, Desi, you picked out a lot of it. It's probably the same, but I just think it's neat the way that they have all that. The other thing I thought was neat around this time was the Ben pose, the Obi-Wan pose. Oh my gosh!
Oh yeah!
Right?
Alec Guinness, right there.
And Nick was just now trying to recreate it, I think. Yep. Look, see, all you need is some facial hair, dude, and it's like spot on.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I think Ewan McGregor does an amazing job with this, and he did show up at Star Wars Celebration. I didn't get to see him because he was on like the big stage, but he did show up at Star Wars Celebration. He was available for like photo ops and things like that, and I hope he does. I hope he likes being a part of it. There are a lot of people who love being a part of these franchises, and a lot of people who kind of like resent it. I think that Shatner probably resented the Star Trek thing for years and decades until he finally just started owning it. And finding like other characters like in Boston Legal that he could actually be identified as, and then he was probably okay with getting the Captain Kirk references. Same thing with Adam West. I think for so long was so pigeonholed into that Batman that he probably resented it. So I think because he had a pre-existing career before this, I think that hopefully that he continues to like doing this stuff. But I love what he brings to this character and the fact that he continues to come back to it.
Yeah, well, I think you had to get some buy-in from him in order to even do this series. I mean, obviously, big enough check would get any actor to revisit a role like this, but no, I think he genuinely does like it. I mean, he talks about stories. I mean, I off the top of my head, I forget the relation, but he's related to Dennis Lawson, isn't he? Isn't that like an uncle or some kind of... does anybody know that story? No, the Wedge. He's related to Wedge.
Oh,
Wedge
okay.
Antilles?
Well, yeah, the actor who played Wedge, not the actual Wedge, but yeah.
Obi-Wan is not related to Wedge, is what you're saying.
In the multiverse, he might be.
So like he told stories about how like he would go see him because I guess Dennis Lawson's a theater guy, and so he'd go and watch him and hear stories about Star Wars, and he'd be into Star Wars, so it just he always admired that. And I know when he got the role of Obi-Wan, to me it always sounded like stories about how when British actors got the Doctor Who role, and they were like when David Tennant was like Doctor Who, he was like so. It was like he was so awed by that because it was a tradition and it was a thing he grew up with, and he knew there was a lot of responsibility with that role. And I think Ewan always felt the same with Obi-Wan, and he mimicked Alec Guinness's mannerisms and way of doing things, the way he sat. I mean, I remember just seeing a whole thing on the way Obi-Wan sat and the way the way Alec sat and the way Ewan McGregor sat in a chair. It was like he mimicked it the same way. Yeah.
So
one thing I was
go ahead, Desi.
The one thing I was disappointed by was that when he met Leia, he did not say, "Hello there." That's it. That was my only disappointment.
Well, and they say that he hates saying that line, which, like, again, that's like Dance Monkey Dance, right? Like, oh, say the line, say the line, say the line. As opposed to, like, if you ever see Tom Corliss, make him say Coral. He will say he doesn't like saying it, but he likes saying it. But this one is one where it was just like, I get it. I mean, there's so much else and so much more to him that I think he wants to be more than a one-trick pony. But yeah, I think we all clearly, has everyone wanted to use that as their introduction tonight? That was the case. So once he's on this planet, and now this is a trap. I mean, this was something that Reva has set on her own as a trap, and now she can't. She's trying to get Obi-Wan cornered, and I'm like, I don't know. I think we knew that this was the case, that that's what was going down because of the end scene from episode one. That's why why they were bringing Ben out here to trap him. But I don't know. I am once the Inquisitor found out about that, though, the Grand Inquisitor, he comes to step in, and then we get to see him again. So I didn't actually show a picture of him earlier, but here's Rupert Friend as the Grand Inquisitor, and then there's the fifth brother, and then Reva as the third sister. So this is very cool, I think, when I see this. And I think we were talking about, like, the head's not shaped as well as it could be because it was very tall and thin, but also I don't know how you pull that off because it's like an unhealthy thing. Although, Reed, I think you could have probably played it, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about doing that for my next big Star Wars costume, perhaps. No, it didn't bother me that his head wasn't like he was in the cartoons. He still, to me, looked the part. He still had the makeup, the marks on his face, and everything. I was fine with how he looked, or how he looks, I should say, because he's not dead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's not dead, right? That's just not a thing. He's not dead. So now the hunt is on. They're angry with Reva, and she's trying to she's getting all up in the Inquisitor's face, or Grand Inquisitor's face. And then he's like, I'm taking this over. We're gonna be in charge of all this now. And then she puts out like this bounty on him. So now everyone in town is out to get him. And so then Leia's like, oh,
John
wait a minute.
Wick.
Yeah, very much like John Wick. And then Leia's like, oh, wait a minute. Like, that guy over there has your picture. Why does he have your picture? Are you a bad guy? I'm going to run away again. Which, again, I can't blame her at this point, right? Because she's in survival mode. She's like, I thought I could trust you, but I really don't know who I can trust at this point. So then she tries to run away. I did like the little scene, though, where he's like, trying to tell her what to do, and she's not having any part of it. She's like, I like that dress. He's like, you're gonna wear this one, and he's like, you don't need gloves. And then she's putting on the gloves, and he goes, okay, we'll take the gloves too. That's fine. So, I don't know. They've really created a very cool world here, and I'm really excited about it. I do have a question for you, Nick. Is this who I think it is?
Oh, I mean, so I don't know if that's the Forlom from Empire. I don't think so because it gets shot up, but I mean, that doesn't mean much because they could rebuild it. I would say it's the same model. I think it's cool to see it's the same model, just like IG-11 was the same model as IG-88. So I don't think it needs to be the same droid, but I think it's incredible, just like we saw other Trandoshans like Bosk in Mandalorian. So we really just need to see a Zuckuss, right? We haven't seen a Zuckuss type creature outside of Empire.
True.
In Dengar. So we need those two. We need those two to complete the set. Hopefully they'll eventually give us that.
We have so many shows coming that it's got to be in there somewhere. I mean, it absolutely has to be. And then we find out that this kid's working with Kamal Nanjiani, and like he's like, hey, this guy's in trouble. And then so they're like loading up. And at this point, there was a really cool redirect, like a misdirect, because you really think, okay, this guy's just in it for the money. He's going to go get Ben. And then when you find out that he's actually going to be on his side and save him, then you're like, okay, I didn't trust it until they actually got in the ship and went off world. I never trusted it.
Same.
Like I thought there had,
And I wonder if also Ben and Leia still don't trust him. Like if he shows up again later in the series, they're going to be, you set us up for a trap, and Reva was there and tried to kill us. I mean, how does he go about trying to convince them, no, I really am a good guy, she got into my mind?
Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like he probably shows up again. I feel like he is a, um, you know, I really don't know because they're connecting all these universes. Like, I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if he was connected in some way to like, um, I don't know. I'm just thinking of this right now, so the timelines get screwy when we're talking Star Wars. Could he be in any way related to what Ahsoka's doing, where she has like kind of the, because she has kind of like this like the fulcrum and the passage, the like kind of underground passageway for Jedi and for people to get from place to place around the Empire, and he's doing the same thing here. So I'm connecting those dots on the fly here, but I like what he's doing. You're right. It was a complete surprise. I didn't expect him to necessarily be a good guy. I thought he might be a kind of this bad guy, and he might end up being a character throughout the series that flip flops wherever the money is. Who knows?
He might
I
be
don't
like a
know.
DJ.
Right.
Yeah.
He could play both sides the entire time and just be this, which would annoy me. I'd rather see the guy who's kind of sympathetic to the Jedi cause, because that's kind of neat. And I also saw these theories that it's possible that kid that's with him might be, no, because this wouldn't make sense. Because it'd be too, he couldn't, yeah, no, the kid couldn't be a youngling, because that'd be 10 years later. The kid wouldn't be that. I saw some stuff about like that, like theories about that kid, but I'm thinking through them now, and that can't be right.
Yeah.
But maybe the kid has some kind of force power showing. I don't know. I read that somewhere, but I didn't see anything to indicate that to me.
Earlier on, Neko was saying that the Forlom was the same type, but not the same bounty hunter. So
Yeah,
she put that in there. And then I thought there was something else in here. Let me ask you this, because I think Nick talked about this, but Chris, let me get your take on it. Like, cinematography wise, I feel like I love the fact that a TV show and a movie can almost be seamless, and I'm looking at a scene like this and just thinking that's something that you would have seen on the big screen, as opposed to Caravan of Courage that we watched about a month ago, which just definitely felt like it had a made for TV budget, and it was a made for TV situation.
Yeah, no kidding. I thought it was beautifully shot, this one, and I really got the vibes from like in certain parts, like with the original trilogy, and then seeing in some of the teasers and trailers for the show, like it seems like it kind of carries on that. I thought it was, beautifully shot, dark. It was great.
Yeah, so the other thing is that when you look at this scene of young Leia sitting here with Obi-Wan, I'm brought back to Jake Lloyd and how horrible I thought his acting was in The Phantom Menace. Are you an angel? I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm wrong here, but I feel like as a child actor, this girl is amazing. I mean, I think she
also has been given much better dialogue than he was.
Okay.
So I don't know if you can fault him for getting lines like "Are you an angel?" and "Hit it on the nose," versus some of the sassy lines that Leia gets.
Okay. I mean, that's fair. I think it could be dialogue, it could be direction. I don't know, but I mean, I do think that it's just a marked difference in the quality of her acting versus some of the kids that I've seen.
That's a great point, Rob. No, I hadn't thought about this until right now. We are looking at Leia in a prequel role that we know what this person grows up to be, the same as we were looking at Anakin, and we know what that person grew up to be. Very interesting to look at the two and kind of compare, because Leia, I think they drew a very direct correlation. Like, this is a sassy young girl who is going to grow up to be a sassy, independent, very strong-willed woman at a very young age. And where Anakin, I feel like they weren't trying to draw that correlation right away. George Lucas was intentionally, and I'm not defending the dialogue. I mean, the dialogue could have used a few touch-ups through some editing, through some editors that looked at the script. But the Anakin was written to be a kid very much opposed to the Anakin that we would eventually see in Revenge of the Sith and eventually know as Darth Vader. So there is a difference in the way the characters were written too. We wanted to see that direct correlation in this Leia character. We wanted to see a completely different character with the young Anakin.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, again, that's one of the things that I'm disappointed in when I go back and see the other ones. But again, no shade to Jake Lloyd in general, but I don't enjoy that part of it. Plus the marked age difference between the two of them. When you go, oh, they're going to grow up and have kids together, it's a little weird. It reminds me, there was an SNL sketch where it was like, I think it was Tina Fey and Amy Poehler, and it was like, meet your second wife. And they like brought out like little children, and he's like, oh no, and the wife's in the audience going, no, nobody else saw that, just me. Okay, way to make it weird, Rob. Here's the other thing, is that scenes like this again just ignite the inner child in me from back in the day with Star Wars, with the stormtroopers marching and the fifth brother in the front, and it's just so strong. What we've seen here. That
was one of my favorite shots. That really was.
Mm-hmm.
Great cinematography in this.
Yeah, and so they take to the rooftops. Leia's still running away from Anakin. Anakin's trying to catch up. All the bounty hunters in the entire world are trying to catch up to Ben. And some of the stuff that we see Reva doing as she's going over the rooftops is kind of amazing as she's chasing after him. If I can get this before YouTube cuts me off.
She's like forced parkour or something.
Yeah.
Across the buildings.
Yeah, it's really cool to see. Go ahead, Reed.
One shot had total Batman vibes. Did anyone else get that Batman shot where she's on top? She's kind of like kneeling. She's on top, very top of the building. Yeah. It's dark, and she looked like Batman. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's there's a blue sign behind her, and at this shot, I was just like, it's Batman.
and I kind of half expected, and this kind of goes back to the chase through the woods, Reed. When you were saying it was a little weird, it was a little slow. I get that, and I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. It's kind of like the speeder chase in the Boba Fett series. The high speed speeder chase through the town. Yeah. They're not doing chases that well in these shows, but I will say I have expected Leia to show off some minor force powers in those chase scenes, like when she slid under the log and she jumped over stuff, and even on the tops of the buildings. But I didn't quite get that. If they were trying to show it, they kept it very reserved. I don't know if they were. What do you think, Desi?
Leia's force powers are more mind and not physical. So her particular set of powers that she is stronger with are the things that have to do with, reading into somebody's mind or feeling them through the force versus the jumping and flipping. Kind of.
So you don't think they were trying to hint at all that she's showing some force powers by running across rooftops or diving through the woods? No.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I was kind of expecting her to be like, I can feel your anxiety, or whatever she feels out of Obi-Wan. That's more what I was expecting out of her.
That's
So
a good point. She had that line. She had a lot of those lines about like you're revealing more that when you don't say stuff than when you do, or something. So she said it a
Right.
lot better than I said it there. But you're right. She is like kind of reading people, right? And she read her cousin. Was that her cousin or something in that
Yeah.
yeah.
at the dinner? Like she's reading people really well, right?
Well, so the thing about Luke and not using the Force, I believe in the final movie was that if he used the Force, that people would be able to find him, right? So like he's trying to not use the Force so that he can't be sensed. And I think that was the conundrum that Ben had here as well, is that he didn't want to use the Force, but then he got put into a situation where Leia's falling and he has to do something. And like you said, she hasn't shown any sign of having the Force in her at all. Although if this was an X-Men movie, this is where she would get her power because, at the height of her anxiety, she would, her mutant gene would snap. But anyway, he has to use the Force here. So now he has awakened the Force. And does that mean that now that there's going to be a whole bunch of people coming after him now that they've sensed that this powerful Jedi exists?
Bringing it back to The Last Jedi, the first time that Luke uses the Force is when Rey goes to like hit him and he falls back and he stops himself with the Force. So he stops the fall with the Force. So I just saw that parallel as well between Obi-Wan stopping a fall as the first time he uses the Force and then the first time Luke uses the Force in The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
So now that she's almost died and he saved her, now she trusts him. And then, Kamal's character...
Can I just say the look on Obi-Wan's face when he was trying so hard and then he eventually got the Force to work where she was just feet from the ground. I got such chills from that. He looked so intense. It was awesome to see him like that again. I don't know. That just seemed like it obviously was, like you said, the awakening, but it was just so intense and it was one of those moments, those really big moments. And I almost got like emotional when he did that because it just looked so cool. He looked so into it. It was awesome to see.
Well, and then there's this where Reva kills, we think, the Inquisitor, just runs him through. You could survive that, right? I mean, that's a thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then they're about to, but then there's this reveal where I don't know if it occurred to me until this point where Reva basically tells Obi-Wan, Anakin lives. And I don't know that I didn't know that he knew that at this point. Like, obviously he left him for dead, but she's left the Grand Inquisitor for dead. Who knows? But I don't know that it occurred to me that he didn't know that until then. And the look on his face when he realizes that hey, this is like unimaginable because I've been brewing on this planet for 10 years thinking that I've failed and killed my best friend. So how was that moment for you, Nick, when you saw that? I mean, again, I had forgotten, but when I saw it, it was huge.
Yeah, it's emotional. I think Ewan played it as such. The look on his face was that of shock, that of realization, probably a little bit of being afraid in there for a moment, for many reasons, for himself, for others, because that changes absolutely everything in his world all at once. It changes not only his own safety, his own mission in life, but I mean it changes Leia's life, it changes Luke's life, it changes Bail's life and his wife's life, it changes Lars's life. I mean it changes everybody around him in that instant, knowing that Anakin / Vader is still alive, and to kind of go about your life thinking you just failed that person, to then realizing you not only failed that person, but now they're alive, and they've literally they have fallen to the other side completely and fully, and now they're your enemy, and they're out for you, and they're probably out for everybody you love and care about.
Yeah, here's the moment at the very end where he's moving in, and we're seeing that look on his face, and then it merges into our first reveal. Yeah, just
so
our
good.
first reveal. Yeah. What?
I got such chills. I didn't even hear the sound of it that time, and I still got the chills. Oh my god! The second we're done, I'm watching episode 3. Like, I mean, every episode.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. It
oh my
was.
god! It's just,
Here's the thing I find ironic, though, is that in New Hope, when we were first introduced to the Star Wars universe and we were first introduced to Darth Vader, we get him like that. We knew Hayden Christensen was in this. We knew that it was going to be Darth Vader, and we don't actually see him until seconds before the second hour is ending. I don't know. I mean, that gave me all the feels, and I think you're nodding your head as the same, Desi.
Yes, it also gave me all the feels. I'm so happy that they brought Hayden Christensen back. I think he got a bad deal out of the prequels, and he actually is a pretty good actor. So I'm excited to see how this goes. Back to what we were talking about kind of at the beginning, the way that they spliced together here's a recap of what happened. It made it seem like the prequels were the greatest trilogy of all time. So it just got me super hyped for that.
Yeah. I have some questions for you. These are not trivia questions, but so I already asked, kind of what's next. We, again, on this panel have not seen episode 3 yet, or part 3. We're looking forward to seeing part 3. It's funny, The Mandalorian, each one has a name. These names are part 1, part 2, part 3, blah, blah, blah. There are 6 episodes in this. I feel like we're almost done, and we've just started, because they dropped the first 2. The third one comes 4 days later. I mean, I'm excited, but also at the same time, I'm also just I can't believe it's almost over at this point, or almost halfway through, or it is halfway through. So the Grand Inquisitor is dead. Nick, will we see Qui-Gon? Will Liam Neeson make his appearance?
100%. 100%. I would put money on it. I thought that going in, that we kind of had to see that. Then again, TV shows don't show you stuff just for fun. They show you stuff because they want you to remember something, and they want to set something up. And they specifically showed the scene in that recap about Yoda telling Obi-Wan how Qui-Gon was working on something on the other side, blah blah blah. And twice, Obi-Wan tried to connect with Qui-Gon in those first 2 episodes. They might have both been in the first episode. I guess they probably were. Didn't he try to connect with them twice? Am I right?
Yeah, he asked. He asked for him twice, but and we don't know if he's maybe seen him already over these past 10 years. Or do you think he hasn't? Okay.
I highly doubt he has seen him. I think he's been crying out for him a couple times, and I think, man, they can't really. Well, they could save it. I don't know. It could come in episode 6. I feel like it would be nice in episode 3, now that he's found out the reveal, and that's going to push Obi-Wan's kind of force level to the next level. He's going to be like, okay, Qui-Gon, I need your help figuring this one out. Because Anakin's there.
So Neko is saying that in the EU, the extended universe, or the expanded universe, that Qui-Gon doesn't know enough to appear as a ghost, but he can project his voice. I feel like at this point, I need to see Liam Neeson's.
We're getting Liam Neeson. I mean,
okay.
come on.
Yeah.
Okay. if I hear his voice, I'm still counting it as a win. But
Yeah.
I do want to see him.
Yeah. Chris, will we see Yoda?
Hmm.
Was that a Yoda impression, or
Perhaps.
were you thinking?
I don't know. You know, yeah, maybe. Like I keep coming back to that. There's only 6 episodes, and we've seen, a third of the entire show already. So yeah, there's a chance, maybe. I'm more sold on like Liam Neeson for sure, but I don't know about Yoda.
Yeah. So this is apparently after the events of Solo, according to Neko. I did not research hard enough to find that, but
I thought they were about at the same time.
Yeah,
because this is about 10 years after, and I thought Solo was also 10 years after.
She's saying 9, but 9, and then this is 10. So, but here's the thing though: is will we see Han or Chewie?
But if Solo is 9 BBY, it's kind of like BC. That would make Solo after.
But he would still exist then, either way.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! Wait, are you saying we're going to see Vader and Maul working together? Because Vader's working with Red
I don't know.
Dawn?
There's
I want to see more Kira, more Lando.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Well, and there's going to be a Lando
think-
series, right? So as long as Donald Glover's
Hopefully.
schedule lines up, according to Kathleen Kennedy, there's going to be a Lando series. So could intersect with this a little bit.
I hope.
Seriously,
I
though,
want
if
to see
we
Maul.
Vader
I want to see.
Maul fighting Obi-Wan,
Yeah,
my mind will explode.
I don't know.
Well,
I
again,
don't think they can
Like-
have Maul fighting Obi-Wan again.
what were you going to say, Chris?
Just that, like leading up to this and watching the teaser and the trailer, and they have Duel of the Fates playing, and to me that theme, I guess they're kind of making it right now like that theme was maybe like the whole like prequel and like the episode 1, 2, and 3, and I know it was played in episode 3 and obviously during Maul's big battle with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, but that music to me is Maul's theme. And in Solo, when Maul appears, if you listen really carefully, that's the music. They're sampling it in the background of Solo there while he's there. So that's his theme. And now they're blasting it all over the trailers and teasers. And they've said that like reports are that he wasn't in it, hasn't been, like, I don't know. It's just obvious that he should be in it, and I was looking forward to seeing him in it. At the same time, seeing Anakin at the end of episode 2 of Obi-Wan, I'm kind of like, I'm sold on that. Like, he looked badass and he looked good, and that might be good enough for these 6 episodes that we're going to get. But it would sure be awesome to see Maul in there. Like, I'm still crossing my fingers for it.
Well, we did say, I mean, we did get, if you guys have, if anybody has watched the show that we're doing, Disney Entertainment News Today, and it was on the website, is we talked about the fact that they said that Ray Park was maybe seen on the set, and that maybe stuff had been filmed, but that he would not be in the series. But they also said Andrew Garfield wasn't in the new Spider-Man movie, so,
Right.
It could just, again, be a misdirect on all that. But I mean, out of all these series,
it would be like having a Nintendo movie and playing the like da 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 and not having Mario in it. You know what I mean? Like that's my comparison to it. I don't know.
Chris is going to lose his mind if that doesn't happen. Okay. So when the movies started coming out, there was Solo and there was Rogue One, and the box office didn't show that this was the right move for them structurally to release these movies. Then it didn't match up with the success they were having with Marvel. And to me at the time, and I think we talked about this when we did our Book of Boba Fett review, I was like, why not? Like, why didn't that work? Like, as a kid, all I wanted was more Star Wars, more Star Wars, more Star Wars. And maybe it's just it wasn't the right Star Wars. I don't know. But when, like, those movies, I think as fans, I think we all like those movies. I mean, Solo, Rogue One, I think a lot of people pick it as their favorite movie. So go ahead, Desi.
I love Solo. I think it is one of my favorite Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
I am constantly hashtagging make Solo 2 happen. Rogue One, I think, gets people excited only because of the ending. I think the rest of the movie is overrated, in my
So
opinion.
I don't know if I mentioned this, but I was at Star Wars Celebration this past weekend. Did I mention that already? I feel like I should have mentioned that.
You were?
There was I know, surprise. There was a panel for that was called Light and Magic, and it was about this documentary that Lawrence Kasdan has done about industrial light and magic that is going to be on Disney Plus, which looks amazing. But for that panel, Ron Howard was in there. That's really the reason I wanted to be in the room with Ron Howard. And when they announced him and he said something about like he had directed Cocoon, I was like, I had forgotten that. But he said, and Solo, and I was like, and then people are yelling Solo 2, Solo 2, Solo 2 in the arena, which was very cool to hear. But back to the thing I was talking about before is that it seemed like there was almost like overkill, like too many movies, and I felt like there weren't, but it just didn't seem like there was enough box office draw or interest, or maybe they weren't doing the right kind of things. Now it seems like with the TV shows, they can't make enough. I mean, you know, they've got all these announcements that came out of Celebration that included like The Acolyte, which is like a High Republic, you know, kind of a stories we haven't heard before, early thing. And then we have Ahsoka, which looks amazing. They showed a little bit of footage of it at the Mando panel, and then you've got Mando 3's coming out, and you know, Bad Batch 2 and Tales of the Jedi, and I mean, it's just there's so much coming out, and I want it all. You know, but like Nick, do you think that there's too much of it? And if not, what are you looking forward to the most?
So, to answer your question directly, no, I don't think there's too much of it, because I think with the streaming service, that kind of dissipates everything a little bit easier. I think one of the things in hindsight, and I don't know if, well, number one, all right, let me break this down. Number one, I think we talked about this a little bit in a previous show about something. They didn't have things planned out correctly, and I think not planning it really hurt them. And so what I mean by that is that since you didn't even have your sequel trilogy really planned out, the fact then that you tried to intersperse these unconnected movies in between didn't work for you. Now, I was fine with it, and I agree with Desi. I love Han Solo, but I also love Rogue One. I love every second of it. But in the grand scheme of things, it probably wasn't right to release those in the middle of the Skywalker saga. Now, they didn't call it the Skywalker saga until they realized, hey, we're going to wrap this up in 9 episodes, because I think they still, going into that, thought there was going to be a 10, 11, 12 and all kinds of stuff. So if you were going to do that, again, I don't know. I still don't know if it's the right way of doing it. But in the meantime, since 2015, Disney Plus and all the streaming really came in strong, and they realized that was the way to do it. So I think they're on the right path now. There's no doubt about that. And in the path that they're on now, they can release as much content as they want. But when they were releasing the Skywalker films in the Skywalker saga and tried to intersperse these other films, that didn't work. And in hindsight, it probably never was going to work. And that's not necessarily their fault, but it also kind of is, because they planned this Skywalker thing, and they decided, hey, we're going to end this, and we don't have a real direction to this, and they made really divisive movies, and it really messed up people's feelings about some of the other movies that were released around the same time. So yeah, it was a lot of things going on there.
I would like to see them come back with some movies, and there's supposed to be a Taika Waititi movie, which is the next one up, that looks like it's a standalone.
Solo lends itself to the Disney Plus series, not necessarily a movie. I mean, Solo as a Disney Plus series would be just amazing. And real quick to answer your question, Ahsoka series is the one
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to.
well, that was
So,
an obvious one. I should have known
yeah.
that from the beginning. You know, I look at this and like Andor's coming up. I had forgotten about you know, mentioning Andor, but yeah, Ahsoka at the panel looked like one. It's like, give me this now. But also Mandalorian season 3. So I mean, we're gonna see Andor come out before the end of this year, as well as the Bad Batch season 2, and then Mandalorian season 3 next year. And Ahsoka is in production. Also, just so you know, I need you guys to know this because no one else will care. When I posted a picture of, it was a very blurry picture, it wasn't close, for the Mando panel of everyone who was in there. They brought in Rosario Dawson, they brought in just, you know, Tam Morrison, like, I mean, everybody, like Pedro Pascal was in there. When Rosario Dawson was there, I tagged her in my Instagram story and she liked it.
Wow,
She's the
so you're
second.
basically besties
And that wouldn't have
now.
happened if you didn't go to Celebration.
Oh, you heard about me going to Celebration. Interesting, interesting. But there was, but that's the second time I've ever had somebody famous like respond to something for me on Instagram. The first one, Richard Marks, kids, look it up. So the when you go in to look at all these things that are happening, I mean, there's just so much to be excited about, the same way with Marvel. So I feel like in this TV Disney Plus universe, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, like I said, were just rock stars there. They deserve to be. I think they've brought some, to your point, Nick, some like a roadmap that wasn't there before for all of this, and it's all interconnected, and it's just. I mean, and this is just the beginning, you know, I feel like. So I'm really excited about that. All right, so I just want to go around. I know we've gone way over tonight, but I appreciate you guys hanging with us because we get really passionate about this. I love it, and it's not from a technical standpoint like I speak Wookiee. It's more of a me going, this is my childhood, and this is like now, like I get to see it again in bigger like chunks and all the time now, as opposed to like the same 3 Star Wars movies over and over again, which I didn't have a problem with until I found out there was this huge universe out there, not just, you know, on Disney Plus, not just in the theaters, but in the theme parks, in video games, in comic books, all these places that I can enjoy this. And then they made the decision, you know, at some point to say, hey, look, these things are canon and they all exist together, as opposed to it being, you know, different versions of the story. And I kind of love all that. So let me just get final thoughts, starting with you, Chris, and what you think about all we talked about this series. And I'm not going to say would you recommend it, because I assume everyone would, but you can drop that if you want, and then what you're looking forward to the most.
Yeah, I mean, it was so fun to watch this over the weekend when it dropped, Obi-Wan. Again, we've covered it all, but I love where they're going with it. That moment, the reveal moment, was just such a highlight. The moment where Obi-Wan was doing the Force on with Leia so she didn't fall to her death was intense. And then Anakin's eyes, seeing those like red eyes, just like, and they connected. I'm assuming that's what happened, is like they connected. It was just all so much fun. I wish it was just, I wish it was more than 6 episodes, just because selfishly I just want to keep watching this and see where it goes. It's just so cool. So I actually just got a notification on my phone that's like from Disney Plus saying episode 3's here. Why haven't you watched it yet? It's 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. So I'm going to go do that right now. The one that I'm looking forward to the most right now is that episode. But Andor coming up. I'm a huge Rogue One fan, so I'm really curious as to his, you know, events before Rogue One. And the Ahsoka series. Yeah, that's going to be cool. I can't wait for them to release the whatever footage they showed at Celebration.
Very cool. And Desi, since you bashed his favorite movie, what are you looking forward to?
So I think I'm probably most looking forward to Mandalorian season 3, just because I need more Grogu in my life. Can't get enough of my little baby Grogu, so please bring him on, more of him. As for the Obi-Wan show, if I'm making a prediction of what I think is going to happen, I haven't read any spoilers or any theories from anybody else. This is just my own personal thoughts of what I think is going to happen. I think that at the end, Vader and Obi-Wan are going to fight again, but this time Vader is going to leave Obi-Wan for dead. And so in 10 years from now, when they fight again, um, when they see each other again, and Vader says, I haven't felt that presence since, it's going to be he's surprised that Obi-Wan is alive.
Okay.
Those are my thoughts.
And Nick?
Yeah, I really just want to say that first two episodes totally lived up to, if not past expectations, because there were high expectations, but I think what these shows are doing for me is it's really being even more emotional than I expected. And I felt the same with some of Boba Fett, definitely in Mandalorian, where I find myself like actually cheering and clapping and yelling and screaming and saying yay and oh my gosh that and I'm saying this stuff out loud. I don't do that. Like and there's other television shows that I absolutely love. And some that I think are like all time greats I don't do that with. Like but Star Wars brings that out with me, and I think, and it, especially I love Bad Batch. That didn't do that with me, but this Obi-Wan series is doing that. Like, and I find myself interacting in a way and just enjoying it in a way that I just let myself go and enjoy it. And I've always been about that with Star Wars. I've always taken the route of I don't care what I think should happen. I care what the storytellers are telling me. And I think that's why I always appreciated the prequels, because I've always looked at it from a perspective of the storytellers are telling me a story. I'm going to sit back and take it in. If they tell me a good story, I'm going to be emotionally involved and get into it, but I'm not going to put any preconceived notions in it. And I'm glad I didn't here, because the whole Leia aspect really took me off guard, and I loved it in a way that I could have never expected. I think, if you told me that you were going to put a baby Yoda creature with the Mando going into that, I'd be like, that's ridiculous. If you told me we were going to have a kid Leia running around with Obi-Wan, I'd be like, sounds neat, but that's probably not going to be good. Like, that sounds ridiculous. It's not. It's amazing, and I'm just looking forward to every second of it. I'm looking forward to the first confrontation between Obi-Wan and Vader. That's going to be super emotional. My poor little mind's not going to be able to take it. I'm going to need some tissues probably right next to me, because I'm going to be crying, and my glasses are going to fog up, and it's going to be a mess.
Well, I will say that there's been some smack talk in the chat while you've been talking about all this, that apparently Neko is throwing out the idea of what if Ben Solo ends up killing Grogu. Yeah, no, that's a horrible thing to say. That's a horrible thing, but she just said, what if?
Got it, right?
Yes, somebody asked in chat if we would be reviewing Obi-Wan Episode 3 next week. We will not. We'll be talking about it amongst ourselves, but we will not be reviewing it next week. We actually have we're going to do a watch along of Ms. Marvel, because again, the Disney Plus train rolls along, and there's so much content right now. I remember when we were in the middle of COVID. I guess Disney Plus released in November of 2019, and there were all these things planned to hit, and Mando's the only thing that really dropped in the beginning, and then it was just like, okay, where's all this Marvel stuff you told us about? Where's all this other Star Wars stuff? Now we're to the point where it's like Marvel, Star Wars, Marvel theater movie, Marvel, Star Wars. I mean, Avatar. It's just like there's so much good content coming. So we're going to be doing a watch along with Miss Marvel next Wednesday, and then after that we have a review of. I'm drawing a blank on what we're doing next after that, but we're going to do Princess Diaries at the end of the month, and we're going to have a couple other things going between there. So we've got a lot of content to talk about. I do also have this,
Not to put you on the
Desi.
spot. Are we doing? Oh, look at that!
Look at that, Desi. I know that you're a Santos fan, so I'm just like,
That's
no.
fantastic. fantastic.
She doesn't
Yes,
care.
sorry. It just took me a minute to realize what it was because I was like, "What is that?" But then I realized, and now I need one.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
So Rob, are we not to put you on the spot here, like live? But are we coming back after episode 6 to do something? Maybe.
If y'all want to, we can.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Let's do it.
yeah. If everybody wants that, we can come back and do a full review like we did of Book of Boba Fett. We've never done that before, but we certainly can. We tried a series called Episodes off of Deep in the Plus, where we were reviewing episodes of What If, and by the enormous fan feedback, we canceled that. So it was me and Desi and Wolf and Patrick, and we were reviewing like just one by one episodes, and people were like, "Nah." So yeah, if everybody wants that, we'll do a full review just like we did Book of Boba Fett at the very end of this. If we can get Chris back, and maybe just start with your phone next time. I don't know. I mean, it's been pretty good. So
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, I'm excited about all this. So we've got the four of us have 4 episodes ahead of us. I'm sure some people in the chat have already seen number 3. So again, thank you for not dropping any spoilers along the way. We appreciate it. And then again, next week, watch along with Miss Marvel. So hopefully you guys will join us then. We'll all kind of consume that together. And Nick, thanks for being on. Chris, Desi, thank you guys for being on. We appreciate it. Nick will be on Thursday night on News Tonight. Yes, News Tonight this week.
Me
Yes.
too.
Okay, and Desi, didn't know that. Sorry. And Chris, you do a Wigs Only podcast, is that correct?
Yeah, at club22podcast.com.
Yep. And again, thank you to our Wigs members. I know so many of you are in the chat tonight. The WDWNT Interglobe Society. If you want to find out more about how to be a part of that, go to patreon.com/WDWNT. So lots of good stuff coming up on Deep in the Plus. Please tune in to Disney Entertainment News today. We put a lot of work into that, and this week's episode is all about, Star Wars Celebration. I don't know if you heard, but I was there. But we have
you were there?
Yeah, I know. Disney Entertainment News today. So we have all of your Disney Entertainment News from WDWNT located in one convenient place for you. It's an extra long episode because, man, were there a bunch of announcements. So hopefully you guys go check it out. Thank you guys so much. We will see you guys again soon, and hopefully everybody will be down for a recap of Obi-Wan when all this is said and done. So enjoy it, and may the Force be with you.
Rising Moons.